Hello, and welcome to our library lecture series, Transforming Our World, centered on our changing climate. My name is Elizabeth Hollenbeck, and I'm the Outreach and Instruction Librarian at South Texas College and moderator of this talk. This fall semester, the STC Library will publish an episode of this series on the first Thursday of each month at 3 p.m. that covers the many facets of our surroundings, our natural environment, the upcoming election, social movements, and personal health and self-care. Each episode will feature at least one visual artist as well as professionals from other fields and will include both local and non-local perspectives. We're also having a live poetry workshop series and community poetry anthology that is tied in with these topics as well as a call for artwork. Please see the links below for more information and check the STC Library blog and the Library Art Gallery's social media for updates. For today's talk, we have with us artist Erika Debourne, who earned her Master's of Fine Arts from the Royal College of Art in London and who taught at the School of the Museum of Fine Arts in Boston. In addition, we have Ernesto Herrera, who earned his Master's of Science in Biology from the University of Texas, Rio Grande Valley. He is a wildlife biologist and board member at the Frontera Audubon Society here in McAllen. Last but not least, joining us from Spain, we have Tamara Meckler, who earned her master's from Stanford University in Earth Systems, Sustainability, and Conservation, and she co-founded FortunaCools, an enterprise that makes coolers from coconut fiber waste, a sustainable alternative to styrofoam for small-scale fishing communities in the Philippines. With that, welcome everyone, and how's everyone doing?
Good.
Yeah, great.
Yeah, doing well. Hi, Elizabeth.
Hi, thank you so much for joining us today. Would everyone like to introduce themselves and share with our students and viewers a little about what you studied and how you came to work in this field in your current role? I can start with Tamara.
Okay. Yeah, well, that was a great introduction. Thank you, Elizabeth. I'm Tamara Meckler. As Elizabeth said, I'm the co-founder and COO of FortunaCools, a startup that makes coolers out of coconuts instead of plastic or styrofoam. I did my undergrad in human biology and my master's in conservation and sustainability. And I've always been really passionate about the interaction of people and nature, and particularly how we can work on redefining that relationship for the benefit of both. So for me, that has meant focusing particularly on how we can work together with local communities to manage both the use and the conservation of natural resources, and in particular, doing that for the sake of sustainable development with these communities. And while I was a grad student at Stanford, I was involved in a design and business school that actually gave me the opportunity to do exactly that. So we partnered with an NGO in the Philippines and worked with the local communities to harness a local resource. In this case, it was coconut husks, which is an agricultural waste product from the coconut meat industry. And with these partners, we worked to improve the livelihood of the farmers and fishing communities in a sustainable way. And so I'll tell you a little bit more about Fortuna later, but that's essentially how Fortuna was born.
Thank you. How about Erika?
Yeah, hi. Yes, my name is Erika Debourne. I live currently now in Mexico full-time. I've moved from the US permanently about 5 years ago. And as Elizabeth said, I taught for a lot of years at the School of the Museum of Fine Arts in Boston, primarily teaching drawing. So drawing's become my major focus over a lot of years. I came to working on this project called Dialogues with Mother Earth, which I started about 10 years ago. I think initially I moved from, I'm obviously making paintings, drawings for many years, gallery-based work which never sold, and got very interested in and worried about climate change. But I didn't start the project until I think a group of students, we would be just talking, critiquing their work, and it seemed always at the end of every critique, students would be talking about climate change and why is nobody doing anything? This was, over 10 years ago. And then we were getting into these conversations, and so I actually started a drawing class where we would work on these big drawings, and the focus became our relationship to the animal world. And that really galvanized me into deciding that I needed to find a vehicle for my own anxieties about climate change. And I began this project, these 10 murals. And initially, obviously I made one, and then I made the commitment that I wanted to make 10. And in fact, now I've made 12. So.
Excellent. And Ernesto.
Hi. So my name is Ernesto Herrera. I'm a wildlife biologist in the Rio Grande Valley. I kind of went through a few little confusing moments in college, right? I'm sure a lot of people do, right? I eventually ended up taking a class in herpetology and another one in animal behavior. And those two classes really taught me about a little bit about what's in the Rio Grande Valley. As a child, I had an endangered species or a threatened species of lizard in my backyard called the Texas horned lizard. A lot of people know them as horny toads or horned toads. They're actually a species of lizard that nowadays is very scarce. You can't really find too much of it in the Rio Grande Valley or in the rest of Texas. And so that's something that I noticed throughout the years. And when I got to take this herpetology class, which is the study of reptiles and amphibians, I kind of, I found out that it wasn't just in my backyard that it was missing. It was really missing everywhere else. So that kind of really inspired me to start looking more actively to help out our native species within the Rio Grande Valley. I have always loved animals, right? And so I ended up with a bachelor's in biology, and my mentor kind of helped me out and to get go ahead and work on a master's in biology as well. So I still, once again, came out of my master's not really knowing what I was going to do. And I looked for an internship within the city of McAllen, and someone, within at City Hall told me to go to the McAllen Nature Center, which is before it was called the McAllen Botanical Gardens. And it had just reopened like maybe a month before I asked about this. And they told me to go check out that place. I got hired there as an intern, and I started getting into the work of becoming a naturalist. And it was there that I really got to apply my knowledge in biology and learn so much more about the Rio Grande Valley. It's to the point where I learned all about our native birds. I learned, our different native reptiles and amphibians, plants. And so it was also there that I got a chance to educate students and educate other, especially kids and families that came into the Nature Center. I got to hold bird walks and plant walks and talk to them there. And that's kind of what kind of took me into my next job, which is now, as a wildlife biologist, that I, was able to network there and meet people and actually have a more, active role within environmentalism in the Rio Grande Valley. That's pretty much it.
Great. Well, thank you again for being here. We're delighted to have you. In this series, among many things, we're interested in how to connect artists with other sectors and professionals and ask what roles artwork has played in the conversation of our changing climate. Images are sometimes the most powerful language when discussing topics that are often polarizing or difficult for people to understand. And I'll now share my screen so we can show the homepage of Erika's website to give viewers an idea of what her art exhibits look like. And then we'll also look at some of Erika's individual artworks. Erika, can you talk specifically about your work and why you created what you hope to achieve by creating it?
Yeah, well, when I started the project, the issue really was an enormous amount of denial about climate change. There's a program coming out of Yale which monitors, deniability and who's acknowledging climate change exists and who doesn't. And the percentage figures, because they collect data, pretty horrific. And it seemed to me that scientific evidence and scientific data did not really reach most people. If you couldn't see it actually happening in front of you, maybe you would if you're in a storm, but hey, we always have storms, don't we? What's the difference? it seemed that we needed a different approach, or I needed a different approach. And so the idea really of moving this project into the future, so the images are as if they are seen from the future as a record of something that happened in the past. So the idea of the mural is also traditionally something where you record historical events. So the idea of the mural was, these were historical events that had actually happened, and we're looking at them from the future, and this is where they are. So the one you're seeing now, which is called Ahab's Revenge, if you've ever read Moby Dick, you know that, you know, the idea of Ahab's revenge really is, in the end, even though he didn't at the time, Ahab's come back to get his revenge on the whale by polluting the ocean. And here is this whale where he's actually covered and caught in plastic detritus. Some people think it's inside the whale. Sometimes they think it's outside the whale. Maybe it's both. And on the right-hand side, you have people just carrying on as if nothing happened. They're still at the beach. They're playing games. They're making sandcastles. And to me, that was trying to find an image, I feel like a story that people could relate to. And interestingly, this has been the most, could we say, well-received image of the series. I think people really get this. They've been to the beach, hopefully, and they understand that this is just going on, and these people are not seemingly aware of what is right there behind them. Yeah. So this one, which is called Save Our Seeds, relates more to the idea of, say, Monsanto and the taking over of genetic material for plants, that's become ownership, that a corporation can own genetic material that actually we should all be sharing and which we own jointly, and that we're not caring for if we allow these corporations. So a lot of this work has underpinnings of really being anti-corporate dominance of the environment. So Save Our Seeds, here are these, they're all women, and they always end up being women, who are going off in this boat with these various seeds to a safe place. That's really the idea of that. And so the idea there's imagery that people can relate to. They can see their seeds, they see their people. It's very accessible. The idea was you kind of could read it, and you could see the story, and you could think about it. Along with these, which you're not seeing here really, are the captions which describe what's actually happening in the past, you know. So when you look at them in a situation of, say, an art museum, you're also reading this caption which tells you what happened in the past, what we're looking at. So they're, as I said, they're very accessible to the general public. And in the show, for example, which I had in McAllen, at M.L.S. in McAllen, we had a lot of children coming in there. We actually had a child, one time when I was actually there myself, this little boy had come in on a school group, and he brought his parents back in on the weekend to see the show because he was impressed by it. So trying to reach families, to regular people who maybe don't go to art galleries, and to just access information about science from a place of story, really. Yeah.
One thing I think that really stands out with your artwork is how you've used scale to communicate ideas. Could you talk a little bit about that in your work?
Yeah, these are all roughly about 15 foot long by 6 foot tall. The scale is, as I said, related to the idea of the mural. They were designed to be in the original installation as if they had been drawn on the wall. You go into the future, you believe you're in the future, and you're looking at these drawings that somebody recorded. They relate a lot to the idea of cave drawings, where a big influence was the Cave of Forgotten Dreams, a documentary by Werner Herzog, who went into this cave in France, deep in this cave where these drawings have been made 30,000 years ago and never been seen before. So they relate also to that, the idea of documenting for the future, you know, this is what. And there were other influences too. There was a film called, no, I can't remember it, but a film that did the same idea. Like, why didn't we do anything? We knew this was happening, we did nothing. This one's particularly about water. These people are queuing for water. And the irony of this is when I first showed this one, or while I was working on it, I was showing it at a museum in Massachusetts, a university in Massachusetts. And there were these, I knew I was working on this image of these people lining up for water. They're being monitored by closed circuit, you know, cameras, and they've all got numbers so they can get their water. And that very day that I went to talk about this work, there was an image on the front page of the New York Times of people in Puerto Rico queuing for water, literally like this, you know. There they were, had no water, they were with their receptacles. So, you know, it's close. All of this is very close to us now. This was, you know, as I said, made this series over a period of about 10 years.
To others on the panel, what kind of artists or designers work in your field? Or have you ever used artwork in conjunction with or to support your work? And how do you think artists can further incorporate into the work?
First of all, Erika, thank you for sharing that artwork. It's very beautiful. I hope I get a chance to see it in person because I'm sure it's a lot more impactful when you can see the scale of it. So one of the key aspects of our business at Fortuna, particularly at this early stage, is really all about storytelling. You can have an amazing idea or business, but if you can't communicate it, you're not going to be able to get people excited about it. And if there's one thing you need to be successful, it's really just people, all sorts of people. You're going to need people on your team. You're going to need advisors, investors. So in thinking for us how we could best tell our story, we've always been really aware of the power of visual media. So photography, videography, these are really amazing tools to get people to understand what we're talking about, to empathize with the communities that we work with in the Philippines, to get a better idea of what our product looks like and how it might feel and perform. And yeah, I think particularly these days when a lot of conversations that used to be in person have turned virtual, even more we can rely on a lot of visual storytelling tools to have more meaningful conversations. And I actually did a minor in art practice as an undergrad, and I'm an amateur photographer, and I found that actually has been quite helpful as well in terms of being able to create some of our own content for telling the story of our business and our product. But besides that, we're also starting to work with some professional videographers and designers. We're actually getting ready to kick off a Kickstarter campaign. So that does involve a lot of more visual storytelling and design. So definitely stay posted for that. And I think I can share just a couple of the photos, some of the key photos that we use to share our business and our product with others. So I'm just sharing my screens here. This is, it's not our latest design, but this is what our coolers made from coconuts look like. And they're designed to last years, not millennia, like all the plastic alternatives out there. Oh, let me see, yeah. And so, you know, it was always inspired by the farmer. These are coconut farmers in the Philippines who face really low margins for the coconuts, and they don't have a market for the husks. Like I said, it's just agricultural waste that actually piles up on their farms. You know, the first time that we saw this massive pile of just discarded coconut husks, it was really impactful for us. And I think maybe this is another case where scale really matters, and actually being there and seeing how big this pile is. But I think some of that can communicate it via photos. And then also being able to put a face to the people that we work with. So this is Rochi, one of the women that we've been working with for 3 years, and she's been an amazing partner, as well as Edgar here, who's you know, loading up some coconut fiber into a truck to be taken to the factory where we make our coolers. So yeah, just some images about some of our day-to-day operations and our key partners that work with us on this, these coconut coolers.
That is excellent. Thank you.
If I can add to what Tamara also mentioned, same thing, you know, in my field, I think photography is one of the things that's definitely helped out the most. One of the, as a naturalist, there's this website that came out called iNaturalist that kind of really helps people kind of connect with nature, and it's amazing. And so basically what you do is you take a picture of something, and then the online community helps you ID it. And it's great as an amateur naturalist. You could learn more about what's out there, but also scientists have been able to gather data from that and learn more about you know, different species on where they're moving, how they're doing in general, if their range is getting larger or smaller. And so that's kind of one of the places where I've been able to connect with people a lot, especially in the naturalist world. I have met a lot of photographers, and that's where we've really been able to kind of share our experiences there. So let me see if I can share my screen here. But basically, you know, that's where I got into photography as well. And I was able to, my way of kind of really showing people what's out there. Can you see my screen? Yes. Okay. Was kind of really showing the small world. A lot of people don't really get to see kind of like the detail. For example, like this scorpion, we saw this at a night hike under a black light. And it's just, you know, you can see everything up to like its eyes, right? And I think this is something that like really excited a lot of people, whether it's like, you know, other naturalists or just people that were coming to the night hikes for the first time. Being able to see it up that close and then putting it on a screen is like really exciting for them. Here in this next picture, I was trying to really focus on this white-winged dove's eye and just like the beauty of it, like how close it, how it, just how it stands out compared to the rest of the white-winged dove. We were bird banding there, so someone had it in their hand, so I was able to really get a close picture of it. We have this pencil cactus with you know, these blooms. Normally you can't find a pencil cactus within shrubs here in the Rio Grande Valley, but the only time you see it in the year is when it's blooming, and that's when you can really find it, you know, out in the desert areas. And so this is another really good example of just some of the flora that's available here. This insect as well, this was tiny. It's like less than an inch big. But just one of the things I really liked about this picture is were being able to see all the pollen grains kind of on there, and this insect's kind of just having a feast there. What else do I have? This wolf spider. You can see all its like little eyes here. And just the texture of it in general. Normally we're kind of terrified of spiders. We either like swat them away or get rid of them as soon as possible, right? But then being able to see it in this picture, you get to see a lot more detail. That's kind of, like I said, this is what really excited me about macro photography. Being able to bring up these little animals that normally we just don't pay any mind to them, and blowing them up and be able to show them to other people. And lastly, this kind of connects to what I'm doing now. This bee, this is a cactus bee. Once again, you can see the pollen grains on it. They have beautiful eyes. This is one of the native bees, one of the many native bees that you can find in the Rio Grande Valley. And so, once again, it's just exciting to see, you know, things that normally you can't see. Here, this is a water lily. People didn't even know water lilies existed in the valley. This is an area that's typically very dry except for the river, right? But when we get rains like we did with the past hurricane a few weeks ago, we get these ponds that fill up and just they come to life with water lilies, and you find thousands and thousands of them. And this is just a good example of a bright blue one that I found out there. And lastly, this is one of my favorite pictures that I've taken, just these, again, two tiny bees that were extremely photogenic and gave me a chance to really take a picture of them up close. For some reason, they were staying there and staring at me. And I was like, okay, well, this was a really good chance to get a look at them. But yeah, like Tamara mentioned, this is a good way. I think photography, I'm an amateur photographer here, right? And I have just learned little by little. It's been able to help me connect with others and get them to learn more, and then learn more myself about taking pictures, and being able to show these to others. So this picture actually, right now it's on display at M.L.S as well, because there's a pollinator, in action display right now, where one of my mentors in photography, she's documenting all the native bees in the Rio Grande Valley. And she did this already in New York. She decided to come here now. Her name's Paula Sharp. And so she has this gallery right now where they're just kind of showing all her pictures. And they kind of entered us in a contest, and I was able to get one of my pictures in there, thankfully. And so, yeah, I think this is a great medium more than anything to connect others with just biology in general. And
beautiful photographs.
thank you.
Yes. Thank you all for sharing. We just have a few minutes left for today's discussion. So is there anything else that you'd like to share with students? For example, any advice for staying motivated, or any advice for those who would like to become more involved?
Sure. Yeah.
Anyone, go ahead.
You want to go ahead, Erika?
Go.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean, more than anything, one of the things I wanted to mention is just keep trying. Keep getting any opportunities you can. Go for them. It's been a roller coaster for me to get to where I wanted to be, and I love my job right now. But it did kind of take a while to just poking, connecting with different people, talking to different people in the field. And eventually, you'll be able to get to where you want. I saw a tweet recently by this one girl. She got a job with the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, and she's like, I got my dream job, right? And she's like, and it just took 19 months in an internship, getting paid, 19 months in an unpaid internship, and she's at 3 degrees and so on and so forth. She listed all these things, but she got to where she wanted, right? And that's the big message she was trying to kind of portray, depict, right? That she just had to really continue going and going till she finally got to where she wanted. So just don't give up, keep moving, and you'll eventually get to where you want to get to.
Yeah, I think what I realized through my work is that there's an infinite number of avenues to do meaningful work. I never really imagined myself in the world of business, and it's a social enterprise, but it's still not an avenue that I thought I would pursue. But if you're open-minded and creative about looking for opportunities where other people didn't see them, for example, we never really imagined that a piece of trash like a coconut husk would inspire a cooler business. But if you keep that open-mindedness and out-of-the-box thinking, which I think actually artists are more likely than anyone to have that sort of mindset, then I just would encourage you to use that skill to find ways to drive positive change around you. And along with that, just another reminder, I think Ernesto was referring to this a little bit as well, but just the power of partnerships. And our work at Fortuna really would not have been possible without the support from NGOs and advisors and other entrepreneurs, designers, obviously the local communities in the Philippines. And so I would encourage you to seek out opportunities to connect with others and learn about their work and what they're passionate about, and just finding ways to collaborate.
Yeah, I would say we are in a really serious crisis. This is not going to go away. It's going to get worse and worse and worse. And it needs everybody to participate in whatever way you can. And if you have relatives who don't believe in it, as my sister does, and you believe in climate change, you just keep on about it. You keep annoying them. You go out on the marches. You read stuff. You read this book, Uninhabitable Earth by David Wallace Wells. Excellent book. This Changes Everything by Naomi Klein. This is an absolute must read for anyone interested in climate change. So you read and you support other people who are trying to do whatever they are, and you keep doing it. You just keep doing it, as you guys have said. And be open to different ideas, listen to other people. Listening's really important. A lot of people think they know everything. Nobody knows everything. So absorb, listen, form partnerships, relate to other people, And we need to do this all together, you know, and this is what this COVID problem has shown us, that if we don't work together, it gets worse and worse and worse.
Thank you. I appreciate that. This has been a fascinating discussion. On behalf of SCC Library, I'd like to thank our panelists for joining us today and contributing your time and expertise. To our viewers, we hope you have enjoyed the conversation today and have been inspired. Once again, thanks again to our panelists. It's been a pleasure to have you with us. And to our viewers, thanks for tuning in. We hope you continue to be safe.